Hey, it's Joe Lyons from Automator, and another episode of what we automated this week with AutoHotkey. I think it's episode 63. Crazy. Anyway, let me switch to my desktop, bump up my DPI, and use prompt. Oops, wrong hotkey. I have so many launchers. That's quick access pop-up. Tools, recently modified files. Now this is going over my couple places where we have synced files with clients and our S drive, which is what we work on with AutoHotkey in any given week. I have my own whole stash of over 10,000 files, but that's not in here. So let's see here. We're doing some work with biofeedback. We were automating, or we were working on a webinar for them, and I was showing how in the webinar post-production, we're putting stuff up on the screen. So we were creating a print report in Spanish, French, and English. The English is already done. Then we use AI to translate that report into Spanish and French. We do plan to automate the Spanish and French versions, and so, but the text we're translating is all done in English, and so we're just going to be translating the text part in English into their language, and maybe other ones at some point. But it's pretty cool that AI can do this. We're not doing it on the fly. We're basically doing it once, creating a dictionary of a lookup terms, right? So it's easy. Prospect Finder. I'm not sure. Jeff, as a client, we work in the afternoons with. We're building a massive tool for him, and one of which, so a lot of stuff is on LinkedIn and Crunchbase and a couple other sources, but we're automating, reaching out to people, trying to connect with them, using AI to look at their business and to come up with a special message for them so it's more relevant, because that's one of your most important things to do, is make that message to them relevant. So that's a lot of those things. With Danny, we're doing a lot of stuff with AI. He's a radiologist, and we're I think somewhere in I saw that's why there's 137 files, but I think we moved over like our Notify class, which has a lot of examples and how to use it. So we didn't write all these this week. We just borrowed them from our other class. And because this is on his synced folder, no, actually that's on the S drive, so that one's not. This Jeff has his own stuff that we sync with him, but the S drive is stuff that we don't. But we put them there so it's easier to share, right? Normally we wouldn't keep a copy of our libraries there, but when you go to share stuff with people, it's easier to have them local and not have to remember you need to go pack those up and share them. So doing some stuff there. Again, this is all, I think a lot of this just copied over files. I think he copied over the UIA library as well. A bunch of our AI stuff. Yeah, there's the UIA stuff. Dallas. This is actually, he calls it his Dallas computer. He's not actually in Dallas, is my understanding. But all right, back to that's interesting. Went back to biofeedback. Oh, because this is our non-shared. So with some clients, we have our shared stuff, which was in the S drive, and then we do sync some stuff with them under Dropbox, and this is our non-shared, so it's under the S drive. The first one should not have been, yeah, it's directly under the G drive, which is our guest drive, if that makes sense. So it's a different spot. They're all under Dropbox, but different locations, and some things we have synced with them, and some things we just keep copies of it for them. So anyway, it looks like I was doing something in Studio. Though I've switched entirely over to Cursor. I very rarely, I think with V1 stuff, I'm still popping open Studio and doing stuff in V1, although that says V2. But mostly I'm using Cursor for my editing. It's really pretty awesome tool. We'll have to do a video at some point. It basically, they borrowed VS Code and then added a bit more AI to it, is how I would summarize that. And it's pretty cool. So you get to use your VS Code extensions, which is really cool. So that's why I was like, okay, I can still borrow because the V2 extension for AutoHotkey is great in VS Code. And we have a whole course on VS Code, by the way. If VS Code is a very powerful editor. It's too powerful for me. I don't need all the bells and whistles. And even though Cursor is VS Code, just wrapped a little differently, it's I'm not using all the GitHub integration and other stuff it does. It's honestly still, sometimes I for a site or studio, just because it's so much easier and simpler to use. We have an AI OCR tool we just released. I haven't released a video on it yet, but it's really cool. Is it running? Yeah, it's running. So I think it's Control Shift and drag. So let's say this was an image, right? And what's cool is it's a table, so it'll demonstrate I can highlight some stuff. Let go. It sends it off to AI, and it says, hey, if that's a table, try to preserve the table. And if it is a table, it should show it in a list view. And here we have a regular text view, and here it opened it in the list view. And notice we have columns, which is really cool, because when you work with OCR, with the built-in Windows 11 and Windows 10 OCR stuff, it breaks. And so this AI version allows you to, then I can sort on the column if I want to, you know. I can right-click on a given column and say copy column B, so that only copied, and here in our Notify class we show you what you copied. So we can copy column C, it's that, or I can select a bunch and say copy selected, which would get those rows. I can select all and copy, or I think Control A should have done that too. Let's see if yeah, good, he added that. And copy, actually that, well, I should be able to select all and hit copy. No, okay, I'll have to let Irfan know. He's the one working on that. So it's a very cool tool. Now let me show you, I mentioned this during the hero call, this tool, and also, which I didn't add, let me go to the preferences of this tool. So you can pick your hotkey, but also, if I care to, I can translate it like to, yeah, to English. Great. I thought Spanish would have been ES, but it's just spelled out properly. So Spanish, save. It won't, I don't think it would really translate that, right? But now when I go do this, it should translate the results to Spanish for me. So if that's something you were wanting, now it's built in. It's using AI, so after it gets the OCR, it then sends it back into AI, translating it to Spanish, and returns the results back. Oh, and it even tells you. How convenient. So, depending on the model you picked, that's interesting. It looks like, ooh, hey. It looks, let's try to reload. There we go. It loaded now. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to tell Irfan. So when I select in between them, somehow we lost the translation. So I'm going to have to let Irfan know. He needs to replace. This shouldn't keep the English version. Oh, no, that's client trabajo. So it looks like some things. Trabajo is bad, if I remember right. That's our bad client. I'm kidding. So I don't know what's going on there. Client, oh, maybe work is trabajo. Anyway, so maybe some stuff just doesn't have a good translation. I don't know, but we'll have. Let me go look at the edit field. Now this is just to edit. You know, what's really also really cool is if you notice something in your list view that was wonky, you can come in here. Let's say this had an extra tab in it. I'm going to mess it up on purpose. So now that one got shifted, right? Well, you can go, oh, let me go fix this, and now I'd have to find that, so it looks a little messy. But you get the idea, right? So that's another thing we have built into it automatically. We also have in the preferences that you can just skip this whole list view, just have it shoved into the clipboard. Sometimes that's what you want, so you can turn that preference on. But let me show you some other ideas I was brainstorming on. And we're considering if you guys have any thoughts of other things we could do with it. But we don't have to go through each one of these. But I think definitely a no-brainer is having a search at the top to filter on a given row. If you find the word, keep that row, right? Because we use that for a lot of things. Some people, like our radiologists, they might have something like LRL in the screen capture. But hey, when they see that, let's replace it with this. So we should have a search replaced kind of terms type thing. Or a dictionary of industry-specific terms. So words that are very complicated or long or something that might get, have a OCR error, we can tell the AI to specifically look for them, and if they find something close to it, it should do a better job of absorbing those, which would be great. I thought maybe if there's decimals, we should let them round all the decimals or round them to 1 decimal place or 2, or have an option for that, because sometimes we really want to be able to adjust that level. And why not have that built into this tool? So if it says like, let's say something I scanned said Pacific Standard Time, but I'm in Central, why not have it convert it to our local time so we don't have to think, right? Like, so I thought that was a cool idea. General cleanup, so sometimes there'll be weird spacing, or maybe like in Word, if I had a word, if we had on the hyphens and it ended here and went to the next line, it would add a hyphen in here. And when you do OCR on that, when you bring that in, if you've ever done this a lot, it keeps the hyphen, of course, because but the pagination, the line breaks would be different because the widths aren't going to be the same. So we could clean those things up. I think somewhere in here I have a. Here we go. The convert, because I'm an older guy. I don't like the singles. After a period, I want a double space, not a single space. So we should let people choose, have it automatically go update it for them. I'm definitely having a button to speak what that was said, what was captured. If you want, like, okay, now I just captured all that. Now just let me listen to it instead of having to read it. So there are lots of cool stuff. Adding making them clickable if it's a hyperlink. I think that'd be pretty cool. Storing the last OCR stuff. I don't know if we'd store both the picture and the text, but I think having a clipboard of being able to switch between the last OCR things would be handy. Auto detect and remove advertisements, because sometimes you're scanning an article that has ads kind of in the middle, and AI probably could figure that out and remove those. Let's see here, whatever. These ones I put at the bottom because they're more difficult to implement, and that's what you should be doing when you're creating your scripts, right? Think about how much of an appeal, how unique is this thing I'm adding to it, how unique is going to make my tool if you're trying to sell it, so you have a better unique selling proposition of, hey, no other tools are doing this thing we're doing. But then also, how big of an appeal is that to the general size of the audience, right? Some things you add are going to have a really huge appeal to a lot of people. Some are going to be very specific. And of course, unless you're going after a specific niche, and you might create a specific version for a specific niche, but we might, we want to prioritize the things that are going to usually help the most people, or yourself. And I know Jean, I've talked to Jean a lot on Quick Access Popup. This was years ago, but I know, at one point he would take all the feedback for updates, but he would implement, kind of like in the same way we're talking about, he would implement what he really thought would really add value, or that he was very interested in. And other stuff, when he had time, he would add those things, right? But I think it's smart to prioritize, don't just do everything. And really, really, which I talk about in our hero group a lot, we come up with a lot of ideas for things to add, like to our Notify class. And I'll say it's a good idea, but I don't want to add it because it adds complexity and things end up breaking, which cost us a lot of time. But also, it just makes the tool more complicated. And a lot of our effortless video reducer, it's very, very... Handbrake's an amazing tool, but it's so powerful, it's hard to use, right? So I like to create tools that are easy to use, and even when you add something extra that's functional, unless it's really easy to use, like Popup Assistant, it's a very, very easy to use tool. You can start using that tool and not even know that you need to read directions. It's really intuitive, right? When you start adding extra things, it makes it more complicated. So these are ones we're considering, and we might add a few, or might add a few different versions. But that AI OCR tool is just fabulous at grabbing, at doing OCR. I'm very, very pleased with that one. We have a talk to AI tool. And I had decided not to keep working on it because it was just having some errors, but one of the Heroes members asked about it, and Ray was just mentioning it'd be cool, so he wanted it, even though we had a few bugs. And I'm like, okay, well, Urfian talked about, he understood the problem with it, and I suggested using an ADO data object for reading a text file and storing it. Then we can use SQL to do queries, and they'll be fast and simple. So we'll probably update that one. It's a pretty cool tool, though. You can talk your question. It will submit that to ChatGPT or I think Claude, and then it then you see the display come back, and you can follow up on your conversation with it. So and you're using API calls, because if you're paying for the $20 a month to Claude or ChatGPT or any of these tools, the API is completely independent, right, of the charges. So I don't have to pay $20 a month if I want to, if I'm using the tool I'm talking about, and it'll be submitting API calls. Now, there are transactional, you use tokens, you have to pay for them, but they're pennies, usually. Like, it's so tiny. I don't know how you'd hit a $20 threshold in a given month. Lots of cool stuff there. Transcribe Media. Apparently, we're doing some more stuff with our Transcribe tool, which is phenomenal for helping people with summarizing videos. We're actually, I asked, Azais is putting in some extra hours, and I said, hey, let's make a different version of that Transcribe Media tool where we can grab a given YouTube video, and we don't actually do the transcribes, but we take the transcriptions and use AI to summarize them and have the time points to jump to, and you can filter and stuff just like with our normal search tool. So That one, hopefully, we've been busy with other client work, but hopefully we'll get that out here in a bit. Scott, a hero member, did some work for me removing a given column, and we have, I don't know, maybe 100 cheat sheets that have hotkeys for different programs, and I need to get those uploaded on the Automator in Shareable, but and we're going to build them into like our clipboard history tool or auto suggester, and that way if you're trying to find a given hotkey, you could hit a hotkey search, because in tools like Excel or Firefox, you can't search for the hotkey. You have to kind of go find it or go to help and then find it. It's just a pain. So it'll make it easier to find the hotkey if you're looking for a specific one, because you can tell it what you're looking for. Or possibly, now see, that's where it gets fun, right? With having this AI stuff, we could feed that information into a GPT or a project in Claude, and then use that, talk to AI to where you can just have it running and ask, hey, I'd say like, hey Claude, what's the Excel hotkey to insert a column? And it would know it, and of course it could look it up itself, right? But having them listed, I think, is a little bit better to get the structure you want and have it speak the answer to you, right? So very cool stuff when you're using AI. It's really cool. So get active path. Phenomenal. If you don't have this tool, I'm telling you, this is a phenomenal tool in a lot of programs. Most common programs, you can hit a hotkey, and mine, I think, is Control-Shift-C. You can choose it, and it will get the path to the active file. So if it's a Word doc, let me show you. If I'm in this Word doc, it's not easy to get the path to this file. Actually, this file isn't even saved. Let me save it. Save as, I don't know, here, test. Oh, with a bad name. Now you can see it here, but getting that path is not, you can get it, I'm not going to lie. But so if I hit Control-Shift-C, down here, it shows me, but it's on my clipboard now. So if I paste, I'll paste it into here. That's the path to this file, right? Which I can then go use elsewhere, which is really, really convenient. And we have that, it's in a lot of different programs where you can do that. Even with the update we did the other day, was I said, hey, if I have, and actually those aren't the normal open save dialogues, I think. Let me go to here, and I say open, but I come into here, and I hit Control-Shift-C, it should pre-fill, I don't, as Ace has done this yet, it will pre-fill that there, because if I have an open or a save dialog box that's active, I'm sorry, not active, but it's visible, when I hit Control-Shift-C, if there's an open or save dialog box available, that's where I'm putting it. Like 99% of the time, that's where I'm putting it. So why should I have to go paste? That's how lazy I am, right? But we'll have it done automatically. Of course, you could just delete it if you didn't want it there, but I think that'll be a great little thing. That get active path saves me a ton of time, because I can very quickly get the path to files I'm working in. I don't know why we... So Irfan, I don't know, this is a weird place to be working at it, but we're building, actually back to that OCR example, we're going to have keywords also at some point, and probably use a scintilla control for displaying your edit field, and then you can give it keywords and then have the highlighting adjust based on your keywords. So kind of like you see them here, like see there's some words that are special, right, and colors. Let's see if there's anything more in here. Yeah. So imagine you give it a list of your keywords, and it will automatically change the colors for you, and you get to pick the keywords and the colors that go with them, and your background. So we're going to probably add that to our AI OCR and maybe other tools as well, right? But it'll be a standalone thing that makes it really easy for you to get this kind of scintilla highlighting very, very easily, where you don't have to understand anything about programming. So that's one we're working on. I know we had actually started that before and we couldn't find the file, so we're starting over, but hey, second time's even better, right? Trigger scintilla highlight preferences, so we're just building some preferences into that tool. We made some updates to our Excel function library. Our project, this is actually a really cool, I'll start it, because that won't be a problem. I just don't remember, I'm going to share it off screen first. Not custom, it's under Automator. Find invoice calculator. So here, let me move this off screen real quick. Yeah, unfortunately I have their last names. That's for me, but I could put their first initials so I could share it. I'll just blur this part in this. So I can click here, and I can select the client, And then when I say we did, an hour and 8 minutes, when I hit calculate, of course, it's gonna pop open with an email. So I don't even want to. I don't want to have to try to blur all this stuff. But it will. Oh, all right, whatever. I'll go do the work. So actually, Outlook wasn't open, so now it just opened it for me. Wrote the email, writes it. Hi, Josh. That's who the first name of them. Writes in all this, gives the hyperlink, and the hyperlink actually has the price where I round down. It should have been. Oh no, he messed this up. Unless it was a flat up. No, this hero price is $61.19. This should say $61.19 because that is what they owe us supposedly, right? Not supposedly. That's what the bill would have been, because he's a hero member, so we get the hero discount price, right? But this should say $61.19. We tell them this is how much you saved, and then here I always round down just to help them feel like they're getting a little bit of another bonus, right? I know it's not the most; it's 99 cents, but it's still a nice way to give them a little bit of a benefit. And in here, now the hyperlink has the price listed, right? So when they go to pay this, it pre-populates. If I click this, it'll pre-populate into our form, because unfortunately our tool doesn't easily allow to create an invoice to send it. It would take a bit of work. So this basically just pre-fills it here. They can go through the payment system, go check out. So that's how much easier it is now, and they would sign in, right? You have to sign in with your account. But before, I would be writing this email and manually doing all this work, and because different people have different prices. Most people have our normal $71.99, it's our hourly rate. The hero members get 25% discount, and then we know if they're a hero member or not. Well, we have an ini file that has their first and last name, their status if they're a hero member or not, their hourly rate if it's different, because a couple people it's slightly different. They started with us earlier, and even though I could say I want to bump them up to the normal rate, I'm leaving it as is. I think that's fine, and that is all stored for us. And then it writes that email using your default email account in Outlook. We could have it come from a certain email address, but we're going to probably adjust this tool to make it something that we can sell as an easy way for people to update. So it'll have, a lot of those points of what's your hourly rate, what's the discount, what's the status or something, right? And just make it really easy for people, because a lot of people spend a lot of time on that kind of stuff. Our Automator Spy, I still got to make a video on that. Maybe I'll do that next, but it's been updated with some great functionality of having a search, which is really, really cool. Let me see if I can launch it here real quickly. So now, let me go click here. And now, if I'm looking for, like let's say here, there's something in here, I can search and say discover. And it's only going to keep lines that have the word discover in it. Now that looks weird, but that's all one line apparently. Or here, I don't know if these are independent, they should be. Look. So you get the idea, right? So it's filtering what's here, which I think is really cool. Also, look at this. It told me this is 125%, because, hey, and we put an arrow there if it's not 100, because you want to kind of know if the DPI is, at a different rate. It's good to know. So we can't, because it's a status bar, it wasn't easy to change the color or bold. So we just put in an emoji to help kind of make it pop. So we made some updates to that. There's one we still have not built in, I think. Let me confirm that. I don't think there's a way to... No, we haven't added it where right now it's press right control to update. But we want to make that where you can choose your hotkey to update. And but it's a very, very cool tool. We like it much better than the built-in built-in Windows Spy. And that's this tracking time. I guess we made some minor updates to that. It just helps track of what programs you're in for how long. And I use that in a video also showing how you can also help do your work, track what you were working in, and then submit it to Claude or an AI tool to say, hey, what could be automated here? And so it watches the programs you're in and how long you spend in them. And it also is a great way to track just where your day went, right? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Remember, we have amazing AutoHotkey courses if you're interested, or our hero group is just... if you're watching this video and you're not a member, you really should try it out, because it's We have 3 hours available a week where you can join. We help people with their code and help teach basic principles and, intermediate to advanced stuff depending on what you're working on. But it's really there to help you have an expert to go to. The first month is I think it's $1.99 or something. So give it a try. We also offer, if you're a Hero member, you get 25% off of all of our courses and off of our rate. So that's why the Hero members you saw in the invoice thing, if they worked, an hour, 2 hours, they get 25% off of those 2 hours, which drops it down to $53 an hour or something like that. Anyway, thank you. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Like the video if you learned something. Cheers.